51 that's getting ready to go home. We built the motor in this. I put it together maybe, I don't know, three months ago and dynoed it. This is a 351 Windsor in a backdraft. This is an older backdraft car. Came in with a bone stock 351. I mean, no cam, no nothing. Maybe making 200 horsepower probably on its best day. So I had all the parts here already pretty much to put this together. So we built an AFR headed 410 inch motor is what it is now. So the way we got there is still a stock block. So it's 4040 on the bore and it's got a 4-inch stroke crankshaft in it. I believe this one's got a 6250 rod. It's got forged pistons, balanced of course, got a hydraulic roller, custom bullet cam that we kind of designed. RPM air gap, that's our choice of intake on almost anything street, man. You cannot beat the premium drivability, but it'll also pull all the way to 6,500. And I tell you what we see a lot of is the combination in a lot of builders' engines is off. You can put the biggest cylinder heads, the biggest intake, biggest carburetor on there, and it doesn't mean it's going to work or make power. So many of these engines come in and they've got too big of a camshaft in them. So you end up with an RPM range that's 4,000 to 7,500. And that sounds cool, except for your hydraulic lifters are going to be all done at about 62 or 6,400 RPM. You might get a little more out of them. Your intake manifold is critical on a street car. So this is basically 1,500 to 6,500 RPM. The entire package is that. The camshaft, intake, all of it. The other thing that you'll see a lot, for whatever reason, a lot of the Cobra guys, they think, oh, it's a Cobra, it's got to have an 850 CFM carburetor on it. And we usually just rip that off, throw it in the garbage, and put a 650 or 750 on it. You'd be amazed how much horsepower you can make with a 650 if it's built right and tuned right. And then you have good drivability. You know, you might give up 5 horsepower on the top end, but you're not changing spark plugs every other weekend like the other people that think bigger's better. It's not always the case when it comes to carburetor. So this one made 540 horsepower and around the same torque. So it's got the quick fuel black diamond on it. That's kind of our go-to if it's going to be an out-of-the-box deal. We still have to put our tune-up in it because they come way rich out of the box. They do that to be safe so people aren't burning holes in their pistons and calling them wanting them to buy them a motor. So you kind of got to know what to jet it at before you get started. Put the new Tremec TKX transmission in. And, you know, they say they fixed all the problems and high RPM shift limits and all the notchiness and blocked out, you know, kind of stuff you feel with a shifter. And you never know how it's going to be until you drive one. But I tell you, I was very impressed with it. Super smooth on the shifter. It almost had more of that feel of like a good T56 6-speed, which they've always been like just smooth as butter. Tremec's, the old TKOs, they were a little notchy. You know, you kind of had to stick them into gear, and even shifting them until they got really broke in, man, they were just kind of too rigid in my opinion. They fixed that with this transmission. The other thing they fixed is the old Tremec was really square on top. So it hit a lot of the tunnels in these old cars, especially Mustangs, Camaros. This one's smooth, almost like a Muncie on top. So you got a whole lot more clearance to the floor, which is huge. Now you don't have to spend a bunch of money cutting up a tunnel or beating on it with a hammer because it doesn't hit, or it hits. So far superior so far from what I can tell, man. This thing works really well, so pretty impressed with it. biggest shareholders Red Bull has ever had. They don't even know it, but no doubt. Want to do some Bronco? All right, so customer bought this. It had the biggest big block giant blower right up to about here, injected, just nasty, sounded like Bigfoot. You know what I mean? Just coming up, hitting. Problem is it was spraying coolant out from between the cylinder head and the block, so the motor's toast. He said, man, I just want something reliable. I can get in there and throw my kids in the car and go drive around town. I ain't mud bogging or none of that. I just want to, you know, get it out. So perfect solution for that is the COYOTE. One of Ford's better motors they've ever done. It would be nice if they would have made it a little bit narrower, but you know, they're pretty well bulletproof, make good power, reliable as can be. This is kind of the future, I think, in the trend of hot rods, resto mods, whatever you want to call it. You know, carburetors are cool and they have a place on a Cobra. Yeah, they should have a carburetor on it, but if you can buy an engine like this, you pretty much don't ever have to work on this other than just keep the maintenance up on it. And that's where people are going, man. The people that have the money to play in this hobby now, they want to hit the key and go, and they still want it to be fast. So by the time this thing's tuned with the headers on it, cold air that we'll build, it'll probably make 470 or 80 horsepower easily. You know, and back in the day, man, to make 470 or 80 horsepower, you had to build a really rowdy, you know, big cam, runs hot, premium gas only, you know, hot rod motor, borderline race car motor back in the day. So the technology has just come so far in the last few years that, I mean, even wiring it, this is a Ford crate motor, so there's literally 3 wires that make that part run. Now there's 100 other wires that you've got to deal with to put this in an old car, but there's solutions for that too. We went with the Dakota VHX gauges. That's plug and play. You just plug it in, what they call the BIM module, and everything, all the Ford sensors relay into the gauges, so cleans up a lot of wiring, makes it simple, super accurate. This won't have an overdrive automatic behind it, so drive it down the highway, do whatever you want with it. They run cool, they get good mileage, and like I said, they perform really well. So this will be a cool project. This big tall lifted, we had to basically take the wheels off just so we could still climb in there with a ladder. Not really, don't do a ton of 4-wheel drive stuff, but you know, it's a pretty cool project. Put the CVF pulley system in. I don't know if you can see it. Nobody really makes a kit to put this engine in this Bronco. I think it's the 81 or something Bronco. So we bought this kit from CVF. We're a dealer for them. We do a lot of their stuff, and you'll kind of see here where this is. That used to be out here. So we re-drilled here. I machined this bracket, made all this stuff, relocated this idler, basically took the alternator, moved it up. I took this and put it in the lathe, and I spun down the fan because it was wanting to rub on the power steering. So, you know, spent about an hour on the lathe, redid all this, deburred it. You can't even tell it's been done, but you can see how close the alternator is to the block there. But that's the only way it was going to fit in here. We had to clean up a little bit of mess in the cross member that a previous builder did, or I don't know if I call him a builder. Somebody with a oxyacetylene torch, let's call him. Probably worked on tractors a lot. But we fixed all that. It's plated, it's done right now, braced up so it's strong. And this one's getting pretty close. Should be able to fire it up here in the next couple of weeks. We got to redo the fuel system and put the Aeromotive Stealth pump down in the tank and get it going.